When you're the best, you do things with style. J.J. McQuade is the best. He's a lone wolf lawman in the Lone Star State.
Your record is unrivaled, but my kind of ranger is a model citizen, pillar in the community, goes to church, he lives clean, he's got a loving wife and kids. Your lone wolf attitude is gonna change.
Hello, and welcome to Viva La Action, the action movie podcast where we're talking all things action movies, from the good, bad, and underrated. My name is Santi, and with me as always is my co-host, Grayson.
Hello, that's me.
Hello.
What's up?
We're really putting the bad in the title this week.
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
We're talking about a movie this week.
If you can call it that.
If you can. Did you say how you were doing?
No, I did not. I'm doing all right.
You're doing all right?
Yeah, my knee hurts a little bit. The muscles in my hamstring, they're super tight, so they pull on my kneecap, so it doesn't go straight up and down. It kind of pulls to the side, and it hurts like a motherfucker.
Well, that's not pleasant.
Yeah, I've had to wear a knee brace for a little bit.
Yeah, we're actually, for the listeners who don't know, we're both actually in our 80s.
Yeah.
We might sound very youthful, but
yeah.
I was in World War II.
Yeah, I happened to actually be in World War I and II.
Oh my God! That was the loudest notification I've ever gotten in my life. What the fuck?
Oh my God.
Oh, this episode's gonna be real loose.
Yeah. Oh boy. Wow.
I don't know what the fuck that was. Oh, it was Tubi. Telling me I haven't finished watching a movie. Okay.
Well.
Hope everyone's awake.
What a start.
Anyway.
Wow.
So.
Anyway.
Before we get into the episode, little update. We're still uploading videos to the YouTube channel. So I think we have 4 episodes up there now.
Hell yeah.
So I think it's the first 3 and then the latest one, which was on Rogue One. More are expected to go up this week, so takes a little bit of time to like edit them and what have you, but they're still being received very well, I think.
Excellent.
One YouTube comment went straight for my throat this week, which was unfortunate.
Yeah.
But for the most part, people are still being very nice, which is nice. But speaking of leaving a comment, one way you can comment is to leave us a nice review.
Yeah.
Which you can do right in your app. You can hit that 5 stars and leave us a nice little review.
Yep.
Grayson's doing a lovely little pantomime in front of me. But no, seriously, if you've listened to any of our episodes and you enjoyed them, leave us a nice review because it helps get us up the charts and gets new eyes on the show. So
Or ears.
Eyes and ears.
Eyes and ears.
You can listen with your eyes.
It's hard, but I guess.
I was gonna say you can watch the YouTube videos, but that's just a static image.
Yeah.
But
we should put some nice bird scenery or something.
I could do that.
I think that'd be funny.
Loop a video of some birds.
Just something for them to enjoy watching while they're listening.
What I'll do for the next YouTube video is just an hour and a half of me just staring.
Nice.
It's just a vertical video of my face while the podcast plays over the top.
Unblinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Real unsettling
But that's all the logistical stuff out of the way. So
the nitty gritty.
Hit the gritty.
Hit the
the kids.
You said gritty 3 times. Now he's gonna show up in your house.
Oh no. So we watched something this week.
Sure.
We watched the 1983 action western film Lone Wolf McQuade, directed by Steve Carver, starring Carlos Ray Chuck Norris. Did you know his first name is Carlos?
His first name is Carlos?
Yes. We'll talk about it, but...
Oh, boy.
Yeah, his first name's Carlos. The film co-stars David Carradine, Barbara Carrera, Leon Kennedy, and Robert Beltran. We have lots to go over. But before we get into the film's plot and themes and action, what did you think of it?
It was bad.
Yeah.
I'm not cutting any quarters. It was bad.
It's pretty bad.
It was, I think the biggest thing for me is that it was just boring as hell.
Yeah.
It was so boring. And the choreography was, like, terrible. Mm-hmm. It felt like I was watching Star Trek from the 60s with how they were doing it. And the fucking guns, it didn't make any sense.
No. Yeah. I'm going to pause real quick because I got to take off my sweatshirt. Distract.
Distraction. Yeah. And,
There's my nipple.
Wow. I just got a free show.
Oh. It's hot in here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm right by the window, but...
Well, that's fine. Yeah, it was... and Chuck Norris is just a horrible actor.
Yeah, he's not good.
He's really, really bad. I think his partner and that old guy that retired, I forget his name, I think they really carried this movie. They were like... Anytime I saw them on screen, I was like, okay, thank God there's like good actors in this movie.
Yeah. So what I was going to say before I decided to strip tease is that we were talking and we were like, last week after the episode ended, we were like talking about what we wanted to do next. And I was like, at some point we got to like talk about a bad movie.
Just a shitty movie.
Because I was like, it's going to feel weird if like all we ever talk about is like movies that we like. Because then it seems like, what's the point? Like we even put in the title like good, bad, and underrated. Yeah. And so originally we were going to watch something else, and then I was like thinking about it, and I was like, let's like pop our bad movie cherry. And, I hate that I put it that way.
That's okay.
No, I was like, we need to watch a bad movie. So I like tried to think of like a movie that was bad, but like we would have something to say that wasn't just like this was boring and bad. Because I think this movie's bad, but in like a way that's like fun to talk about, because there's like some baffling choices made and just a very weird like history. And I think Chuck Norris is like just a weird man.
He's a weirdo.
But no, I agree with you. I don't like this movie. The first time I watched it, I took an action cinema course in college, and this was one of the movies we watched. I can't remember why, like what the subject was, but I remember at the time being like, ugh, like I don't. This is boring and like bad. And I thought this time I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go in like open-minded and like see if I feel like any differently. And I didn't.
Yep. Yeah, that's
I don't know. Yeah, we'll talk about it. But so we just to frame the conversation a little bit, we should talk a little bit about the plot.
If there is one.
If there is one, for anyone who hasn't seen it. But we won't like go beat by beat because it's kind of tedious. But I do want to read you the synopsis I got from IMDb, because it's equally as baffling as the film.
Yeah.
But the synopsis is: after helping the local police with some horse thieves, a Texas Ranger aims at a drug lord with arms trade as well. They're interested in the same woman, and they're both into martial arts. That's the whole synopsis.
And see, that doesn't give you anything about what actually happens in the movie. Because all of that, aside from like the horse thievery, is like all subplot.
It is, and like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I still have no idea. Like, I watched this movie like 1.5 times this week. I couldn't bring myself to watch the whole thing again, but I have no idea like what the villain's like motivation is, or what his plan is, or like what he does, like, because like they say that he's like into drugs and arms, but like you don't actually see him doing anything. There's like one scene where he inexplicably kills a bunch of like Cuban like revolutionaries or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's like
That's
the
it.
only like half like illegal thing he does.
Yeah, there's no drugs.
There's no drugs.
Like, they
Yeah.
say he's into drugs. Where are they?
Yeah, we don't know.
He did them all.
Yeah, so that synopsis doesn't tell you anything.
No,
So
it gives you zero idea of what you're going to be watching.
but the basic plot is that Chuck Carlos, Ray Norris, plays J.J. McQuade, who is a Texas Ranger.
He's a
but
lone wolf.
He's a lone wolf. He's so lone wolf, he lives with a wolf.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is
and-
clearly just a dog.
It's just a big dog. But so he's a Texas Ranger,
Yeah.
and he's not just a Texas Ranger. He's the most rangery Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
He doesn't play by the rules.
Nope.
He loves killing a bunch of stereotypes.
Yeah.
And we see that he has a stepdaughter. He has a daughter who is estranged sort of from him.
I didn't understand any of that because he like goes to her house and she was like, "Daddy, Daddy," and then they kissed right on the mouth.
Yes, yeah.
And I was
that
like,
was very
huh?
confusing.
I was very confused because there was nobody else.
Yeah.
Until the other woman comes out and she's like, "Oh, where you been, stranger?" And I was like, "Are these two friends?" And then what's with the dot? I was confused.
I don't know.
and it was strange.
I mean, it's supposed to be like that's his ex-wife and that's his daughter or whatever.
why are they kissing on the mouth?
I don't know, because he's Chuck Norris. That's what he does. I just totally lost track of. Anyway,
yeah,
he's a
goes to see
Texas
his-
Ranger.
Yeah, we go and see his daughter.
And we see his daughter or whatever, and he doesn't play by the rules.
No.
And he gets assigned a new partner.
Yeah. Because all the politicians are like, we need to disband the Texas Rangers because they're useless because
Right.
of McQuade. And then McQuade's boss is like, you need to cut your shit out.
Yeah, he's like, and we're going to assign you a token brown character who, I can't remember his character's name.
Nope.
It doesn't matter. And
Chuck Norris kept calling him Kid.
yeah, what is his name? It's, it doesn't matter. He's we'll talk about the racial politics, but
Yeah.
he's Hispanic.
Yeah.
Presumably Mexican, but they never say. And they are teaming up to investigate KO, that's right. That's a real name.
He's got a longer name, but he's just
Yeah.
like, oh, I just go by KO.
Yeah.
Because they had to make it white for the audience.
Sure, yeah. And they're teaming up to investigate David Carradine's character, who I can't remember his character's name, but he's a vague drug arms dealer.
Yeah.
Who is married to a woman played by Barbara Carrera, and Chuck Norris is like in love with her, even though he met her like 5 minutes ago. And he's like investigating David Carradine's character.
Raleigh Wilkes is his name.
Okay. And a bunch of stuff happens that seems unconnected.
Yep.
And it eventually ends with like a big shootout in the desert.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know.
I don't know. And what's weird is that, because, like, we see they're, like, at the horse race, and then we just see who I assume is, like, the head honcho of this whole operation, like, with binoculars spying on McQuade.
So, oh, no, go ahead.
And,
you finish.
Yeah, and I'm like, why are they interested in him?
I don't know.
Why?
I think... I don't know. All the little pieces seem totally unconnected. Like, one of the weird things for me with this movie is that, like, tonally, it's just, like, all over the place. And it's, like, on the one hand, it's trying to be this, like, super serious, like... like, Western, like, action movie, but then it's got these like weird, just super goofy moments. Yeah. Like you said, the main villain is like, he's a little person, right? Who's in like a wheelchair. Yeah. But he's also like a drug lord. Yeah. And he has like a weird little hidden lair at like a horse racing track. Yeah. And there's a moment where like Chuck Norris shows up to like threaten him. Yeah. And he's like playing like pinball. Yeah. And then he's like, you better watch out, JJ. And then he like, ha! And then he like disappears behind a wall. And it's like sped up. And it's like, what is this movie? Yeah. And he has the weirdest laugh. He does. I'm wondering if that was like a director thing. I'm sure you have to laugh like this. Yeah. And I would imagine that actor went, do I have to? And yeah. And this movie's baffling. It's so, and because they end up kidnapping the daughter. Right. But like before that, she's making out with her boyfriend. Yeah. And then the bad guys show up. They kill the boyfriend, which I thought was unnecessary. Fucked up. I love the way the boyfriend is killed because it's like so much more brutal than it needs to be. Like he doesn't just get like shot. He gets like machine guns. Yeah. They pump like a full like clip into this boy. All right. And then the daughter is like in the car, door shut, screaming her head off. And you would think, like, if they're trying to send a message, they would just straight up kill the daughter, right? Instead, they use their car to push her car off of a cliff. Yes. Right? She gets a little banged up and is fine. And I'm like, you could have just kidnapped... I thought that's where they were going to kidnap her. Yeah. I thought they were going to go inside the car, yank her out, put her in the car, and then be done with it. No. Push her off. Anyway, that's the vague plot. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about some of the history of this movie because I was reading up on it this week and I think it's kind of interesting. Okay. But the first thing is that like, so the director Steve Carver, he'd worked with Chuck Norris before in this other movie that I can't remember the name of, but they were like, they wanted to make like a Sergio Leone like spaghetti western inspired movie. Gotcha. And they failed? Yes. Well, I wrote this note. I said, Steve Carver and Chuck Norris claim this film is based on spaghetti westerns like those made by director Sergio Leone, although they seem to have misspoke as this is not like those at all. Yeah. And the main reason I say that is because like there's basically nothing in this that would indicate to you that it's supposed to be like a spaghetti western. Like I had no idea it was a western at all. Right. Like the only thing I would say is like the music is very reminiscent. And I would say the music's the best part of the movie. It's like... Which is unfortunate because it was so quiet. It's very quiet. Yeah. So like the mixing on this was just god awful. Yeah. They don't use the music as much as they should, but it's very like... Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, like Ennio Morricone kind of like trumpets and whistling and stuff. And the music's good, but like that's the only thing that's got going indicated to me that it was supposed to be like a spaghetti western because it's like I don't know. Anyway, like I said, the music is by Francesco De Masi, who I looked him up. He hasn't really done anything else that I really recognize, but again, I just thought the music was pretty good. One of the interesting things about this movie is that I don't know if you noticed this, but it's rated PG. I did. I thought that was fucking hilarious because like right out the gate they were saying motherfucker like a million times. I was like, this is PG. So originally it was meant to be rated R. It was rated R by the MPA. And Chuck Norris actually went to them and was like, it should be PG. And the reason he argued is because it's a family film. I'm doing air quotes. And his quote was, he argued it was good because of the strong positive image that I project on the screen. The word karate, unfortunately, connotes violence to many people. Actually, it's a means of avoiding violent situations and a form of defense if you have no choice and you're backed into a corner. The film received the PG rating, and I wrote... Despite the flagrant use of profanity, more than 2 fucks, and that it's so bad, I think the average child would vomit with disdain. Yes. Also, PG-13 wasn't put into use until the next year. So, Yeah, so this was at a weird point in like movie history where, because the ratings board has always like flip flopped on like what is rated what, and prior to 1984 with Red Dawn, which was the first PG-13 movie, you were either PG, so like made for kids, like think of like I don't know like. Who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. Like a Disney movie or something like that.
Yeah.
Even more child friendly than that was like a G.
Yeah.
But you just jumped to R, which was just like, like, I don't know, The Godfather or something like that.
Gore, violence.
Yeah, gore
titties.
and violence. Well, titties were, you could have titties in an R. Any more nudity than that, and you went to like what used to be X rating, which is now NC-17. But yeah, so this is technically rated PG. The thing is, though, right, his quote about like it's a means of avoiding violent situations. At no point does J.J. McQuade like try to avoid being violent.
Yeah,
like he just comes out of the gate violent.
Yeah, he instigates.
He does.
He's an instigator.
He sucks.
Yeah, he's the worst.
But I do want to say, like, just to be like fair, I don't hate Chuck Norris. I think politically I couldn't disagree with a person more.
Yeah.
But I respect the fact that at the very least he is like an actual martial artist. I think like I watched like this short little documentary kind of about his life, and like, he is like, he did come from like poverty, and he worked himself up by his bootstraps or whatever. He's like he's one of the only Westerners to ever be granted, I think it's like an 8th level black belt in Taekwondo.
Wow.
He's like a 6-time karate world champion. He trained with Bruce Lee. Like,
damn.
He does have like the chops to be. He was a military policeman. Like he's done all kinds of stuff, and I think like, I give respect to him that, like, the stunts he does in this movie are impressive. Like, there's a bit where he's, like, hanging off a truck. And
that was pretty...
looks very cool.
Yeah.
That being said, he has the charisma of a block of wood.
Yeah. Well, and even his choreography didn't seem, like, professional in any way. It was very, like, blocky. It
is blocky and slow and, like...
I felt like I was watching an episode of 60 Star Trek.
Right. And
it's just...
I don't know. And I read this quote this week because I watched some other Chuck Norris movies, and I was reading this review, and somebody said that the most expressive thing about Chuck Norris is his beard.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
but,
he's got pretty good facial hair.
Yeah. This movie's just baffling. And like, bafflingly edited. Like, there's so many moments where, like, you think a scene is going somewhere, and then it just cuts to another scene that's, like, unconnected to anything else.
Yeah.
There's so many weird choices.
The one thing that I noticed, anytime they were using guns, first of all, it's just awful.
Yeah.
Like, he was, like, whipping around really fast and not aiming at anything. And I thought it was hilarious because anytime he got shot at...
Yeah.
Like, aside from one time, bullets wouldn't even come near him.
Yeah.
But he would always hit his target. And there was one shot where he was mowing down people, and it was like a weird POV from, like, the barrel of the gun.
Yeah.
Because, like, he fires, and you see the muzzle flash.
Yeah.
But you don't see the gun.
No, I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I was like, why?
Very weird. Yeah.
And the sound effects for the guns weren't even that great either.
No.
They were real bad.
Yeah, the action in general is just not good. I would say there's one decent action sequence, and it's when they go to, like, interrogate that weedy little, like, like hippie guy. Yeah.
Snow.
Yeah. Oh, you remembered his name.
I remember his name because I was like, they said his name. I was like, oh, Edward Snow.
Oh yeah,
or
good.
Snowden.
Edward Snowden. Yeah. The little sequence where he like karate chops some dudes in the neck and then like jumps on the back of his truck. I thought that was okay.
Yeah,
and that's
like
right. for this kind of movie, I was like, that's not bad. Like,
Yeah.
it looks okay. You know, the stunt is impressive, but the rest of it is just not. It's a lot of that, like, 80s action where it's like, it's just a static shot of a man shooting a gun.
Yeah.
And then it cuts and a bunch of dudes go flying.
I know. Yeah, I hate the way that people died in this movie.
Yeah.
Because it was so dramatic. Right? They would like throw their arms up in the air like they were doing the wave at a fucking baseball game. And then they would like fly backwards and roll like 7 times. And I was like, that's, unless you're getting hit with like, I don't know, a 60 millimeter round, you're not going to die like that.
No. And there's a lot of like, my favorite thing in this movie that it was also in, I watched this other movie this week called Invasion USA, which I think next year we should do, like, for our Christmas episode, we should do like a movie commentary where we like watch that movie and then like talk over the top of it.
Oh, okay.
Because it's insane and baffling. But this movie, like, it has this thing in it that movie also has where like somebody pulls the pin on a grenade and then like throws it. But the way the way it just like clanks to the ground is like so comedic because it'll just be like dink.
Yeah.
It's like not like now when they show someone throwing a grenade, it's like, you know, big and dramatic and we follow the grenade all the way or whatever. But in this one, it's just like pull the pin, throw it, and then it's all pink.
Yep, rolls a little bit.
And then cut to it exploding. Like,
yeah. These explosions, I think, were really well done.
Yeah.
There's that scene at the very beginning where he was shooting at a truck and it exploded. Was he using... What kind of rounds were he using?
Doesn't matter.
True.
I don't think they were supposed to be, like, incendiary rounds. It's just, like...
But, like, he put one bullet into one truck and it started smoking or something. And then he put a separate round into a separate truck. Yeah. And then everything exploded spectacularly. It didn't make a lick of sense.
No, and that opening sequence is so stupid.
It's the dumbest thing ever.
It's like, this movie does this thing that, like, I feel like is in a lot of Chuck Norris movies and also just, like, a lot of 80s movies, like, action movies, is, like, it has this weird attitude about, like, race relations where, and this is kind of just, like, a thing where, like, there's, like, with white people, it's just like, whatever, you know, like, who cares? But for some reason, with anyone who's not white, it's like, are you a good Mexican or a bad Mexican, right? Yeah. And it's like, the good Mexicans are like KO, right? Where he's like, oh, I'm hanging out with Chuck Norris and I'm whatever. And, oh, you know, like, there's a very, very weird scene where, like, Chuck Norris goes to Mexico and it's just like, it's like all these, like, dirty people, and they're like, oh, our savior's arrived, it's Chuck Norris. And they're, like, putting flowers on his car, and they're like, oh, thank you, Senor Norris, you know, like, whatever. But, like, if you're not one of the good Mexicans, you're like, you know, you're like, madre de puta, or whatever, you know, and, like, you know, you're, like, a big fat guy who's, like, a white dude in brown face or whatever, like...
Yeah. Well, and the, like, some of the Spanish, and I don't speak, like, any Spanish.
I don't think you have to speak Spanish to watch this movie.
Yeah. Well, but I was just gonna say, like, the Spanish is rough. There was some moments where, like, even, like, the like, Mexican people, like, their Spanish sounded like a white person from Northern California trying to say something. Yeah. And I was like, man, that's bad.
It is bad. To me, it feels like the director, the writer, whoever, like, wrote the dialogue, like, you know, with, like, a Spanish dictionary. Yeah. And then, like...
Spanish to English dictionary. And they're just like, all right, what's this word mean in Spanish?
And then, like, on the day, the actor was like, you don't say it like this. And they're like, it's fine, just read it as written, just whatever. And they're like, chingo to mama, puto, you know, like, or whatever. And it's like, like, even the characters that are supposed to speak Spanish, like, don't sound like people who speak Spanish.
I know. There was a line that KO had. It was when they, like, busted through that gate. Yeah. I forget the word. I think it was like chingao or yeah. And he went chingao. And I was like, no fucking way. Absolutely the fuck not. And my roommate was actually in the room when that happened, and like the disappointment on her face, it was just, I was like, yep.
It's wonderful.
Don't worry about it.
And it's like, I don't know. Chingao. And there's... and it's just like, I mean, like, I don't know. It's just that attitude of like,
yeah.
If you want, you know, because there's like, they try to cover it up with like that like scene where they're all calling him a greaser or whatever, and you know Chuck Norris has to step in and be like, "That's my Mexican friend," you know, and it's like,
yeah,
it's like this weird double standard where it's like, oh, don't be racist unless it's a bad Mexican, and then you can be, you know,
it's okay,
then it's all right.
80s were wild.
It is, yeah, it's wild, but
yeah.
What'd you think of the villain?
He was a bad villain. And not like in a, like he was a bad guy.
Yeah.
He was just, like, bad at being a villain.
Yeah. I like, so he's played by David Carradine, who, most people would recognize him as, he's Bill in Kill Bill.
I've never seen it.
It's fine. But he's very, like... He's a very prolific actor. He was in like 300 movies or something.
Good lord.
He's dead now, but
well,
he most famously was in the TV series Kung Fu in the 70s, where he played an Asian character. David Carradine is not Asian.
Nope, he is as white as they come.
He plays like a Shaolin monk who like wanders like the Old West and like gets into scrapes.
Yeah.
It went for like 1 billion seasons. There's a reboot of it currently on the CW, which is basically, it's a reboot in name only because it's about like a lady Shaolin monk who just like helps clean up her side of San Francisco or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, David Carradine is known as like a sort of martial arts star. He was also in a bunch of like horror movies and
yeah, I'm looking at his not discography, just his like his shit that he's done.
Filmography, yeah.
Dawn of Sex. oh, the actual name of that movie is Homo Erectus, made in 2007. Hell yeah. That's got to be a porno or something.
I'm sure it's like a softcore thing, but
wow.
The thing though with like David Carradine, right, is that like he's supposed to be this like super deadly like cool martial artist.
Yeah.
But he's like so slow and he's like real long. You know, he's like real tall, so like all his kicks take like 9 years for him to like you know, clear anything.
Yeah. Well, in that scene where like he's in like the ring or whatever and he's fighting people, like the people that he was going up against like didn't do anything.
No.
They threw maybe like 1 or 2 punches and that was it.
Yeah. And
then he was just like, "Oh, dodge. Punch." and then they would like go flying.
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
And so that their like climactic final battle, I was reading like you know, that like Chuck Norris is like, "Oh, it took us like 4 days to film it, and like we did all our own stunts or whatever." You can't fucking tell.
Nope.
It's like it's so like sloppily edited and like all their punches are like so like slow and stupid and like,
and it's just, it looks rehearsed.
It does.
It does not look natural. There's no flow to it.
No.
The sound effects when there's a hit, because first of all, when they hit, I'm doing air quotes, they don't hit.
Yeah.
It's very clear they're missing the face, and then the person reacts, and then there's just stupid fucking noise over the top of it, which there was a Mythbusters episode about that, where they tried to recreate those punches, and they had like a dead pig strung up, and they would hit that with like a baseball bat or something.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good because it sounded like it. And so that's all I could think of. I was like, there's some jackass hitting a pig right now.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, like, the swooshes and stuff are done with, like a PVC pipe.
Yeah.
Or with, like, a blanket or something.
Yeah.
And you just, like, swoosh it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I at no point at this movie I'm like, what a couple of deadly guys.
I know.
I'm just like, look at these old men.
I
Just
know.
Like,
Back in the early, like, 2000s when, you know, we were growing up in elementary and middle school, you know, we were always making these, like, Chuck Norris jokes about how he's, like, this super powerful guy.
Yeah.
Watching this movie, I was like, I could take Chuck Norris.
oh, yeah.
I could take him.
I mean, now you definitely could. You know,
100%.
he's like 82 or whatever.
Yeah. He's an old man.
Yeah.
I just look at his knees and they crumble.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, really? This is who we were hyping up?
Yeah, I mean, I always, even as a kid, I always felt like the Chuck Norris jokes were almost like satirical.
Yeah.
You know, where it felt like, oh, this guy sucks. Like, you know, we're ironically making these jokes about like whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think he knows that.
No. Yeah, and because people, and there was those people that always like defended him unironically. They were like, no, Chuck Norris is the best. He could kick anybody's ass. No, he couldn't.
No,
you put him up against, like, because they were like, oh yeah, he kicked Bruce Lee's ass. No, he couldn't.
well, I mean, and he didn't because like, you know, they do fight in Way of the Dragon.
There you go.
They have a fight in the Roman Colosseum, and he gets beat by Bruce Lee. Which, again, to be fair, like, they were friends, like, you know, like, I'm not, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want to say that Chuck Norris is a bad person. He probably is.
He's
but,
probably kind of the worst. Apparently it was an illegal fight scene.
Probably. They probably weren't supposed to be in there.
Yeah, it says in 1972, Bruce Lee filmed an illegal fight scene with Chuck Norris that evolved into one of the most iconic martial arts showdowns of all time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a great fight. Like, I think the problem with, like, Chuck Norris and then, like, a lot of those, like, 80s, like, action dudes is, like, if they were shot right and then, like, put in, like, an interesting scenario, I think they could be fun to watch. But, like, especially in, like, Rambo and, like, Chuck Norris movies and, like, I don't know, like, Van Damme movies and stuff, it's, like, they're just, like, the best guy, and they're just, like, they just plow through everyone, and it's not even a fight. Like, there's no point in this movie where you're like, oh, man, I hope Chuck Norris gets out of this one.
You're right.
Like,
there was that one moment where he does get shot. Yeah. And you're kind of like, okay, yeah, he got shot, but he, like the very next scene, he's fine. Yeah. Like, he's like, whatever.
Do you like the part where he gets out of being buried alive by the power of American beer?
Yep.
I like that part.
It was something, all right. I like how this whole movie was just a beer ad.
Yeah. For Pearl beer.
For Pearl beer. Yeah. There was a box of Squirt, if you saw.
Oh, yeah.
Coke. It was just a big ad.
Yeah, I like that he's always just drinking something. He's also, this whole movie, he just looks gross.
Yeah. Like, well, and he's always drinking something except water.
Yes.
Because he took that big swig before he goes and kills all the horse thieves. He gets a big old mouthful of water and then just spits it out.
Yep.
And I'm like, why?
Yep.
What was the point of that?
I don't know.
It wasn't beer. He drank it and then forgot it wasn't beer. You're like, oh, I can't drink this. But yeah, no, he does look gross.
Yeah, he looks awful. Yeah, and he's like dirty and he never showers.
Yeah.
And there's that moment where like Barbara Carrera, who is like grossly like misused in this movie, she shows up and she's like, I'm gonna clean your house, Chuck Norris, even though I just met you. And he's like, no, don't clean up. I'm a dirty little goblin. Like,
and then she gets all mad and like starts leaving. He's like, oh no, wait.
And then they have a mud wrestle.
That was gross.
It's awful.
I hate that.
I'm like, that guy already smells, and now you're gonna roll around.
Well, and then they started making out in the mud.
Yeah, it's really gross.
I was like, why?
Ugh. And also, like, the way the movie treats her is super gross.
I know.
And
I was waiting for, like, a horrible, grotesque, like, sex scene.
Yes, and
I'm glad we didn't get one.
No, I know. And, like, here's one of the things, right? It's like that I think is hypocritical about like somebody like Chuck Norris, where they like tout themselves as like this like evangelical, like Christian, like superhero. But then on the other hand, they're like, oh, but also in my movies, I'm banging women and I'm drinking beer.
Yep.
And it's like, come on. Like,
pick a side.
Yeah, but like, when we introduce her, like, it's by like two gross men like seeing her and being like, I'd like a piece of that, you know?
Right? And yeah, the one is like, can I have a kiss, baby?
Ugh,
it was awful.
And there's that line where he's like, I better not let that fruit rot on the vine or whatever, and Chuck Norris is like, doesn't look too rotten to me. And it's like, oh,
stop it.
Stop.
It was, that was real rough. I felt, because like her character, I think had it been done better, I think her character would have been really cool.
She could have been interesting.
Yeah.
And like, she doesn't, but I mean, she's not given anything to do.
Right.
Like, besides like, look at him and be like, no.
Yeah. Like they really played into the stereotype that women are supposed to like clean.
Right.
And take care of everything, when that's like when we're first introduced to her, like she chases down Chuck Norris's daughter and like saves her from like being on a runaway horse. Like she's kind of shown as like kind of a badass.
Right.
But then the rest of the movie, they're like, oh, frail woman.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? No.
And she's like, she was like a Bond girl at one point. She was in, I want to say she was in Live and Let Die. I could be wrong. Where she's like, I think she was like a female assassin or something like that. So like, she's got like the chops to do something, but like they just don't give her anything to do besides be like, she's hot and sad. And we're gonna shoot her at the end.
Yep.
Like,
which that was a bummer.
It's a bummer, but it's like, who cares? Like, there's, and she's like, I didn't betray you, JJ. And I was like, this time when I watched it, I was like, I don't think anyone thought you did.
Yeah.
Weird that you bring it up.
I know.
Like,
you know who would have been much better in this movie?
Who's that?
As McQuade? Fucking Harrison Ford.
He would have been good.
Fantastic.
I read that originally they were going to offer it to Clint Eastwood.
That would have even been better.
That would have been fine. I mean, this was the 90s, so Clint Eastwood was already 1,000. But or the 80s. Sorry, the 80s. So I don't know. I guess he was doing like stuff then. But,
yeah. But like if they had just like a better director, a better writer in Harrison Ford or Clint Eastwood, I think it would have been an infinitesimally better movie. Yeah. Like I agree. Like the directing, terrible. Yeah. Chuck Norris, wet paper towel. Oh yeah. The writing, just god awful.
It is pretty bad.
Like
the dialogue's really awful.
And like from the beginning, like the first 10 minutes, I was already like, is this movie over yet? Mm-hmm. It was so, and it was only very boring. It was only like an hour and 47 minutes.
Yeah. And like, don't get me wrong, like I love a good like so bad it's good movie.
Yes.
Or like, you know, a movie that like doesn't care so much about like plot or anything like that. But like your action has to like
make up for it.
Be good enough, and make up for it. And you have to give me something to care about. Yes. Like, if I don't care about any... And, like, I don't care about Chuck Norris in this movie. Because he sucks. Like, you know, he's mean. Yeah. And he's, like, dirty and stinky. And, like... He breaks, like, every law in the book. Yeah. And, like...
But he gets away with it.
He gets away with it, but, like, what... Like... Not to be a snowflake or whatever, but like, at what point, like, do you break so many laws that like you're any better than like the criminals you're chasing, right?
Right. Like, yeah. Like, where's internal affairs?
Right. Like he holds a man hostage. Yeah. And then the hostage gets killed.
Yeah, when the feds, like, because the feds get involved. Yeah. And they're like, don't do anything wrong or we'll get you. Yeah. And then they don't get him for anything.
Right. And then the one fed is like, we need you, JJ. And it's like, for what?
What do you need him for?
He hasn't helped you with anything.
Yeah.
He's just made the situation worse.
Yeah. And I thought it was funny, too, with the feds. Mm-hmm. They had, like, a whole ass helicopter. Yeah. Right? And they go to, like, bust all these guys. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why didn't you guys just stay in the helicopter?
Right.
Like, they land it. Just have a guy shoot from the helicopter because all the feds get mowed down.
Yeah, and
They all die.
I love that they rock up and they're just like, us 3 guys are gonna arrest.
Yeah, and they have the megaphone. I hated the use of that megaphone. It was the
bad.
worst. They did it like, what, twice?
Yeah.
Oh, right, with the thieves. They would walk up and they'd be like, this is the police. You're under arrest.
And they're like, don't you know this is the 80s?
Yeah, and then the bad guys were like, man, way to, tell us that you're here 1,000 yards away.
Yeah.
Get them, boys.
Yeah.
And then mow them down. Right? And so, yeah, it's just bad.
I also loved, like, one of the more baffling things in this movie is, like, we were talking about, like, the weird editing. Like, there's so many moments where they hold a shot for so long.
Yes.
There's a shot of, like, a plane landing.
Yeah.
And you think, like, oh, they're going to cut. They're going to cut. It's still going. They're going to cut. It's like a 30-second shot.
Yeah, it's that TikTok audio of like the slices.
Yeah.
That's enough slices, right? There's the other scene where he like goes because he's got to talk to his boss or whatever, and he walks up the stairs.
Yeah.
He like says hi to somebody. He gets some water and he walks down the hall. And I was like, was any of that necessary?
No.
You could have just had him walk up the stairs, down the hallway.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like-
Or walk up, get some water, walk like 3 steps down the hallway, cut.
Yep.
You don't have to have him walk all the way down, looking at doors, going like, "Where's the office?"
Yeah.
Christ.
I know. It's very weird. And there's like there's another part that I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
This movie broke my brain.
Yeah.
I can't think.
It was. I'm just trying to think. Oh, what I thought was weird at the beginning, after he's like done discriminatory things to the thieves or whatever, and he like shows up to that cop whatever with their awards. Like he like gets in the audience and like the commissioner or whatever like gives him this glare, and I'm like, why is he mad at him?
Yeah.
And we don't find out for the longest time why he's mad.
Yeah.
And it's only until he does that stupid long hallway scene that the commissioner's like, politicians are mad at you. And like shows him the paper. And he's like, you gotta clean up your act. This lone wolf thing is not great. You're getting a partner. And I was like, give some context, my guy.
Yeah,
Please.
I don't know. This movie's so weird.
It's
and like
very strange.
I was just baffled and bored, and there's like
also his truck was awful.
yeah, and there's like
all the cars in this movie sucked.
they do.
They were just the worst.
Oh, I remembered what I was gonna say earlier. So like after the Fed is like, we need you, JJ, or whatever, and there's like, they like storm the base.
Yeah.
That like the one dude is like like they show him getting shot.
Yeah.
And it's like very obvious that like he's like in this kind of movie you'd be like, oh, that guy's dead. But then he like inexplicably comes back. And I think they were like, in the writing of this movie or whatever, they were like, we kind of need like a third guy in the final fight, but we killed off our other like 2 characters.
Yeah.
And so they're like, he's okay.
He's fine. He walked it off.
Because he kind of just wanders in the scene. Because they're like, JJ's alive and KO's okay. And that guy's like, I'm here too.
Hello. Yeah. That was very strange. Oh, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. When the villain guy was like in the warehouse and he was like looking at all the inventory with that other weird guy. The smuggler with the beret.
Oh, yes.
They were having just like a normal conversation.
Yeah.
And he pulls a gun on him. And I was like, where is this coming from?
Because he's a spicy Cuban,
But like, it was like at no point was there any indication that he was going to betray this guy. And it was so poorly done because he just like pulled a gun on him.
Yeah.
And then everybody ended up dying anyway.
Yeah. And there's like, one of the things I loved is that like the villain is just like constantly smoking this like cigar that seems to just last forever.
It's been the same cigar the entire movie.
And I love that little scene where he's like, you know, he's doing his little sparring match in the whatever, and he's like smoking, but he's also like real sweaty, and I'm like, oh, that guy is like so uncomfortable, I'm sure, like, you know, because it's like hot already and you're burning a cigarette, like, dude,
bro,
like, come on. What was it? Oh, I love that the finale, like the way he finally kills the villain is he like just blows him up with a rocket launcher. Which like why didn't you just start with that?
Yeah, like that could have been a 30-minute movie.
Right. Oh, it does that thing I hate. I hate this in pretty much every action movie when they do that thing where they're like, oh, we got a gun on each other. Guess what we have to do is put our gun down and fist fight.
Yeah, like just use the gun.
Right. Or like, and like he's surrounded by like all his friends. It's like, one of you just shoot him.
Just
pull
shoot
the trigger. Him. Yeah, like, I know I'm not supposed to think about it, but I do.
Yeah. Well, there's one movie that I think doesn't do that, and I think they do it all right, and it's Shanghai Noon. Because there's that whole scene in the church where Owen Wilson and the bad guy are like having a shoot off, because they had like at the start of it was like Jackie Chan, Owen Wilson, and the bad guy, and they were like,
we got a Mexican standoff,
except we ain't got no Mexicans. and then they actually do start firing at each other, because then because there was two villains in that movie. There was the Chinese villain,
right,
and then there was the white guy.
Yeah.
And the white guy and Owen Wilson are having a shoot off, and they don't do that, oh, we got guns on each other, but let's fist fight. They actually have a shoot off, and it was a great shoot off. But yeah, I agree. Like, why not just shoot each other? Like, you have guns.
Right.
Just use them.
I don't know, man. It reminded me, have you ever seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly?
No.
Okay, there's a scene in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly where his name is Tuco is the name of the character. He's like in the bath.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like taking a, you know, he's the ugly in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, chilling, and this guy comes in who's got like a vendetta, and he's got a gun on him, and he's like, you know, monologuing at him, and like midway through his monologue, you just hear a gunshot, and it cuts, and you see Tuco pulls a soapy gun out of the bathtub, and he tells him, "Don't talk, shoot."
It's like that scene in fucking Indiana Jones where like there's that guy swinging the sword all crazy, and then Indy just like, he's like, whatever, and shoots the guy. And I don't know if you know the story behind that, but I guess Harrison was actually sick.
Yes, he had the flu.
He had the flu, and so they were gonna have like this whole big fight with this guy, but Harrison was like, I can't do that.
Like,
I can't do this. And so they were just like, all right, just shoot him, and it worked because it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that trope.
Yeah,
I think it's just so good.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this, and like, I hate any time in the movie and I don't like it in the movie when in any movie, like especially action movies, when the villain has like the opportunity to kill the main like protagonist, and rather than kill them, they like do this like really elaborate way of like, you know, making a statement or whatever. Yeah. Where like they bury him in his truck. Yeah. But like for some reason they didn't like drain the gas out of it. Yeah. Or like, you know, set it on fire. Yeah. Or they just like kill him. Let's just leave this fully conscious man.
Yeah, they might as well just been like, they put him in a house with a key and food and weapons, been like, all right, now you stay here.
Now die in here.
Yeah. And then the main character just opens the door.
Right.
And they're like, oh my god, how did he escape?
Yeah. But
how do you think?
And we didn't really talk about it, but like, I love that like the beer somehow like powers the car. Like, it's not really going. Yeah. And then he's like, let me drink this beer and pour it all over myself. And then he's like, and it comes out of the thing. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I wish everything was powered by beer and my love for America.
Yeah, the beer. There's that part where she was cleaning his house, and And he, like, comes in and he's, like, freaking out. And he, like, opens the fridge. And there's, like, fruits and vegetables, you know, to keep you healthy and not have scurvy in the fridge. And he's like, where's my beer? And he just takes everything out of the fridge, throws it away, rummages through the trash, looking for his beer. And he starts putting it away.
That's being a man, I tell you what.
I was like, man, this dude, does, like, all he have in his fridge is beer?
It's just beer, yeah.
What does he eat?
I don't know.
Beer cans.
I love, like... I love this idea that we used to have as a society where it was like, you want to be a man, you got to be gross. You got to be filthy. You got to be mean to women.
No showers. Smoke all the cigarettes.
Because I know, I know that they're, because I was reading, I don't even know, the IMDb reviews and stuff, and there's still people who are like, I wish they made action more like this today, and it's like, why?
It's so bad. What did it even get on, Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb?
I think it's, a 50-something%,
yeah,
which,
sense.
Fine. To
whatever.
Me, we'll get to the rating at the end. It's you don't have to watch this movie.
No.
You don't. It's not important. It's not
it's not culturally relevant.
I think there's enjoyment to be had in watching it, if only to me, this is the kind, if we didn't do this show, this is the kind of movie that I would force you to sit down and watch with me, just to be like, look, check this shit out.
It'd be a fun drinking game.
It'd be a fun drink. Okay, I was gonna say, I forgot. There is a drinking game associated with this movie.
Oh, really?
I was reading a little bit about it, but it's things like take a drink every time someone says Ranger. Because I swear they say it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
It's like, take a drink every time he has a Pearl beer. Take a drink every time you see Coke on the screen. Take a drink.
Yeah. Wow.
I think you'd just be on the floor by the end.
I think about 15 minutes in you'd be dead.
My God, do they say Ranger a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. They never, they rarely call him McQuade, and they just call him Ranger.
They never call him by his first name, which is John or whatever.
Or Jim or some
Joe.
I think the only person that calls him by his first name is his ex-wife.
Yes.
And that's it.
I was watching, because I watched Invasion USA, like I said. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what his character's name is in that, but there's another character in that movie whose name is John Eagle. And the first time they said that, I thought that was Chuck Norris's name, and I was like, "Yeah, that adds up. That's the kind of stupid name he would give himself." I'm John Eagle. I'm the most American man.
Yeah. I was almost named Griffin Steele, so
that's fucking sick, though.
Yeah.
Griffin Steele, hell yeah.
Yeah. Alyssa says almost. Probably 2 or 3 times a week that was probably one of the worst decisions my parents could have ever made, is not naming me that.
Yeah. To be fair, not to dox you, but your middle name is Wolf.
Right.
Which is the coolest middle name.
Yes, that's true.
My middle name is Ariano.
That's pretty cool.
It's fine, but it's your name is Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wolf!
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah, I don't know. The names in this movie were weird.
KO,
JJ McQuade. What kind of last name is McQuade?
I don't know.
Also, what did he call his daughter's boyfriend?
I don't know.
All the time? I don't know.
He called him whatever.
Yeah.
I love that little moment where you think the boyfriend dad thing is gonna be more of a thing, because it's oh, nice to meet you, Ranger.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just a 16-year-old man of 25 or whatever.
That dude looked 40.
He looked 40. And he's got his little military uniform on.
I honest to God thought he was a Mormon.
I thought he was a Boy Scout or something.
Yeah.
And he's oh, nice to meet you, kid. And then he's and then she's I gotta go hang out with my dad.
Yeah.
And I thought there was gonna be more of a thing where he's oh, don't hang out with your dad. Your dad sucks or whatever. But then he just gets machine gunned to death.
Yeah. What the fuck was his name?
His name's Bert or Albert or Steve.
What the fuck was his name?
His name. Let me.
I'm looking at it. Lone Wolf McQuade, daughters.
You're gonna get really shitty like Google results now.
I know.
Googled Lone Wolf McQuade.
Bobby. Oh, it was Bobby.
Yeah.
Bobby Drew. Bobby Drew.
Oh, good.
I thought it was the dumbest
That is a
fucking
dumb name.
He was, because the daughter was like, "Oh yeah, this is my boyfriend, Bobby Drew," and I was like, "No fucking way, absolutely the fuck not." Did you name this poor white boy Bobby Drew?
Bobby Drew, machine gun to death. In the arms.
And then he walks out with his like little tie, and I was like, "Oh, is this brother Bobby?"
Yeah. No.
No, god damn.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I hate it.
It's awful.
Yeah, and I've been waiting about 4 years to show it to someone, because like I wouldn't subject like my wife to this, because I think she'd divorce me.
Yeah.
But like I could show you, because you can't divorce me.
Well,
And I force you to do the show every other week.
that's true. Yeah. You don't force me. I want to do this shit. It's funny as hell.
And this is probably like I'll wait a little while before we do another bad movie, but yeah, it's not good.
If you're planning on watching it, do the drinking game, because I think that'll make it bearable.
Yeah. Or like invite your friends over.
Yeah, make fun of it
and make fun of
relentlessly.
it. Yeah, because it is fun in that sense. And I
Yeah.
think like I don't know. I just, if you're a fan of like this kind of movie, like there are better examples.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Commando is great. Like
Never seen it.
you should see Commando. I mean,
Alright.
we might watch it for the show, so maybe
Alright.
just hold off. But
Alright.
like Predator even is like better than this.
Yes.
Like, you know, just you don't have to watch this.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies that were made in the 80s that are action films that are really fucking
Really good or like silly enough to like make up for not being that great. Like,
Right, yeah.
Even something like Invasion USA, which is awful. Like it's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. Is fun to watch because it's so strange and like violent and like nihilistic and like that's the thing too, is like he said like, oh, it's like a family film or whatever, but it's like so brutally violent.
It
like
is. They chained that guy up.
yeah, and like
Outside.
beat him.
Yeah.
And like all the bad guys get like exploded in like really amazing ways.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
It's
There's a lot of like real like heavy punches, which I I was waiting for the two-handed overpunch.
Oh, me too.
Honestly, I was hoping for it.
Yeah, because they did the weird like punch where you like stumble forward a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And normally after that, then you go for the two-handed overhand
To the middle of the back.
of the back, which like does something.
I guess.
Never used it in real
No,
life.
me
We should
neither.
try that later.
We should.
Let's see what happens.
We'll put down the mats.
Yeah. After about an hour into this movie, it felt like I'd been watching it for 2 hours. I was like, does this ever end?
I watched it over 2 days.
Wow.
So I watched like half of it, which was about as much as I could stand.
Yeah.
And then like watched the second half of it.
Yeah. I watched it at like 10:30 last night, so I was like tired.
That's not a good way to watch it.
No.
You gotta watch this with like a full night's sleep
Yeah.
and like nothing else to do during the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was rough.
It was rough.
Real rough. Just like I said, if you're planning on watching this, do it with friends. Do a drinking game out of it. But if you're not going to do any of that, don't watch it.
Don't bother.
Don't. It's you're not missing anything.
No, I really don't think so. I mean, like, yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's boring and weird and
Chuck Norris is just. I don't know what it is about him, but anytime I see his face, I'm like,
is it his weird giant jaw? His big teeth?
yeah. Is he the big bad wolf?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He just looks. I don't know how to describe the way he looks. He just looks stupid.
He does. And, like, he's not... I don't know. I don't find him, like, compelling.
Yeah.
Like...
There's no part of any of his stuff that he acts in this movie that is convincing.
he doesn't act.
Yeah, he just says shit.
He just grimaces and says shit.
It was so long before he really said anything.
Right.
Like there were so many moments at like the first like 30 minutes of this movie where like there was like really no dialogue.
Right. And like I know, like I said, they were going for like a spaghetti western, like man with no name kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like if you watch, like Fistful of Dollars or The Sound of Silence or like a spaghetti western, like the way that like those protagonists like don't speak or whatever, it's like it's because there's like intention behind it, and there's like the movies are doing a good enough job of telling you the story that like you don't need them to speak that much.
Yeah.
And like Clint Eastwood is like not Chuck Norris. Like Clint Eastwood is like he looks at you, the wrong way and you probably cry. Like not that he's tough in real life or anything, but he's got that face that's like just mean looking.
Yeah.
Chuck Norris does not have that. He looks like the guy that like you don't want to go too close to
because he'll smell bad.
Because he'll
you'll puke.
Yeah, or like he's like a little too friendly to your daughter or whatever.
Yeah.
Not that I'm insinuating that he's like a pedo or anything. It's just that like
he would say some weird shit.
He'd be like, oh, you've grown up well, or something like that.
Yeah, he's a big old weirdo. Ugh. I know. Yeah. He's gross.
He is gross.
He's like a little piss baby. He feels like that's what it is. He feels like the milady type of person.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Ugh.
And he's like, I don't know, real life, like I said, I just don't like. I don't know. I try not to. I don't care. I think he sucks. Like,
oh yeah. I'm gonna look.
Now, I'm going to say this, and this is going to sound like a crazy person talking. I could have sworn I read on his Wikipedia page that he voted for Trump in 2016.
Yeah.
And it's not there anymore. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure somebody edited that out.
Yeah.
But, like, he definitely is, like, way conservative. Like, way back in the day, he was one of those guys who was like, if you vote for Obama, you're going to ruin America or whatever. He also came under fire like a few years ago because he signed like a Glock endorsement.
Yeah.
When like there was a bunch of mass shootings that had just happened.
Ooh,
and it's like, ooh, not a good look, Chuck.
Yeah. On his official Wikipedia, political party, Republican.
Yeah. No, he's not. It's not even like. And look, I will say this too. I respect the fuck out of the fact that he has given a lot of money to like charitable causes, right?
Yeah.
Like genuinely, like he's given money to like building schools in like third world countries and like helping build hospitals and stuff like that. Like, good on him.
Yeah.
That's good shit.
Yeah.
That being said, probably homophobic.
Oh, 100%.
Like, he voted against like, gay marriage and like all kinds of stuff, and it's like,
yeah,
I am not the kind of person who can like separate art from artist very well, and it's hard to not watch his movies and like read like his politics into it a little bit. Yeah, I can see your face. You're just like cringing.
Yeah, he is a columnist for the far-right WorldNet Daily.
Yeah. Not shocking.
Yeah. There's a picture of him with Mike Huckabee. Oh, yeah, he's not. He's... He first recommended Ron Paul and then formally endorsed Newt Gingrich.
Back on a loser there,
wow.
But... And that's the thing, too, right? Like, I don't have a problem with, like, movies from the past, like, having politics that I don't necessarily agree with. Like, because a lot of action movies, I've talked about this before, like, clearly, like, lean right.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm okay enjoying a thing that I don't necessarily agree with and, like, being able to separate that. but I can't do that when your movie sucks.
Yeah. Well, it's because a lot of these action movies are like real bootlicky.
Yes.
And, like, they really suck the toes of the military. Of the military.
Yes.
And so that's why they're like real far right.
Not only that, but like they have like this movie too has that like taking justice into your own hands, you know, vigilante, you know, gun rights kind of thing.
Yeah, which the taking the law into your own hands really only works with like people like who's the motherfucker in Black Panther?
I don't know.
Killmonger.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I understand why he's doing that, and it kind of makes sense. Or like when we talked about Saul Guerrero.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
That also kind of makes sense.
Sure.
And like Jason Todd.
Right. But, I mean, but the thing is, though, right, like, this is a huge topic for this show, but...
Yeah.
I am not like a pro, like... cop person in any sense of the word.
Oh, same.
But there are laws in place around law enforcement for a reason.
Right.
And people who are like, I'm going to take the law into my own hands. It's like, you shouldn't do that.
No.
One, because you're going to get yourself killed.
Yeah.
And two, because like, there's a justice system for a reason. Like, even as flawed as it is, like, there are things like you probably shouldn't be killed for stealing a horse. Like,
no.
Or you probably shouldn't be like beaten to death for like selling cocaine or whatever. Like,
right. Like people are still people, like they're human beings.
But like these like vigilante like right-wing movies are like, if a man steps on your house, you should shoot him in the butt. Like, it's like, like shoot his dick off.
Like no, the punishment does not fit the crime there.
No, so that's always been my problem. And like I said, like something like I don't know, like the old like Death Wish movies or something. Like I can separate that because it's like silly and dumb and like who cares. But like with this, where it's like it's trying so hard to be this like serious like Western action movie. It's like you failed.
Yeah.
And I can't not see your shit politics on top of it. Like
it was very clear that they were pushing some sort of ideology.
Something.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I don't know. Also, this is way off topic. Where was this shot? Do you know?
El Paso.
El Paso? Okay, was shot
It looks like El Paso.
Yeah, I was thinking like
shit
that,
city.
Yeah, I was like, this was either shot in El Paso, New Mexico, or Arizona.
I think it was mostly shot in El Paso. I could see some of that as being like eastern New Mexico because it kind of looks like it. But yeah, they do reference Las Cruces in this.
They do.
Hey, hey, New Mexico got a mention.
Yeah.
And look, I'm gonna just say, Texas people don't at me, okay?
Yeah.
Yes, Albuquerque is also a shit city, but
it's our shit
It's
city.
our shit city, okay?
Yeah.
And I've been to El Paso. It sucks.
I've never been to El Paso, and I don't really ever plan.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
But
I
anyway,
think the only time I've been to like southeastern New Mexico is when I went to Carlsbad.
I like Carlsbad.
Carlsbad's great. I had a coworker go to Carlsbad Caverns for the first time, and they fucking loved it. If you haven't been to Carlsbad Caverns, plan a trip. That shit slaps.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
there's some cool stuff down there.
Yeah,
I don't really like Las Cruces to be honest.
I've also never been to Las Cruces.
I don't know why we're starting a weird New Mexico turf war.
No, I don't think I've been farther south in New Mexico than Albuquerque.
You've never been to
well, except for Carlsbad, but
well, yeah. I was trying to think of a shitty New Mexico city. Never been to Hobbs.
I've never been to Hobbs.
Been to Aztec or T or C.
Nope.
Or what's that one fucking Mora? You never been to Mora?
No, I've never been to Mora.
Mora might be north.
It is. It's. I think a little bit north, northeast.
Mora is actually kind of pretty, but
Yeah. I've really been like Espanola, Poake, Santa Fe, Albuquerque. That's it.
You know, I sometimes am like, why do people think like New Mexico is like, you know, like they think we're in like the Old West or whatever. But then I remember we have a town that's literally called Truth or Consequences.
Yeah.
So, you know, fair enough.
Yeah. And yeah, it's, yeah, we're a interesting state for sure. Love it to death.
God bless the Southwest.
Honestly, I would not want to be anywhere else.
No, and I don't like Texas.
There's not a lot of people that do. Well, except for weirdos. But.
Did you say there's not a lot of... Oh, not a lot of people who do. I thought you said there's not a lot of people to do. I was like, damn. Grayson's a little slutty this episode.
No. And, well, no, yeah, I've been to Texas a couple times, and it's... meh.
Yeah, I like... we're way off topic. I like fun. San Antonio. Yeah, it's a nice town.
Can't remember what the name of the town is, but yeah, there's a couple of nice places in Texas. I haven't been in so long, and I'm kind of keeping it that way.
That's fine.
It's just it's a weird state.
Yeah, but bringing it back to the episode.
Yeah.
I think we've come to the end.
Yeah.
I've said pretty much all I want to say.
Yeah, I think I have too. I hated that truck. I'm going to be honest. That truck, it was a terrible...
kind of crap.
And the turbo thing that they put in that, like, the engine sounded like it was about to die.
Yes, yeah.
It was so whiny. And I was like yeah. And I was like, this truck is going to explode. He should not be doing that to this truck. It was not built for it.
No.
Yeah, and like I said, all the cars. And, like, that's the thing that I kind of am like, if I'm, like, watching a movie and there happens to be, like, a lot of cars, if they're, like, cool cars or it makes sense, then I'm like, all right, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if they're like this, like, all the cars were shitty, and they just didn't look... They looked out of place, honestly. Yeah. It looked like I was watching a movie set in, like, the 70s instead of the 80s.
Yeah.
And so, it was... Ugh. Also, the very end, right? He's about to take... He said this, like, multiple times.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm on vacation. At the very end, he's, like, gonna go have this, like, really great vacation with his family, right? Because he, like, got the bad guy and they just need, like, a little time away. And then KO comes up and he's like, hey, we got a 1031 at the National Bank. You come in? And I was like, say no. Yeah. You're like, fuck you. I need to go have a vacation because I just went through hell. Yeah. Right? You guys got this. But he's like, oh, gotta go. See ya.
Yeah.
And just dips.
Yeah, and his ex-wife's like, oh, JJ.
Yeah, she's like, ah, hell. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, I'd be like, I'm never talking to you again, Dad.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah, it was a poor decision on his part, and it could have gone over so much better.
Yeah. But
anyway.
Well, okay, we've come to the end.
We have.
What do you rate it out of 10? And you can be as brutal as you want.
Oh, I'm gonna be.
We've been very generous up to this point.
Yeah. It's not getting above a 5, for sure.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna go 2.9.
That's fair.
I'm gonna go 2.9 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, when we started this show, I thought I was gonna be the more brutal reviewer.
Yeah.
But, no, that's fair. I could see that. I was gonna say like 4.
4?
Yeah. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It entertained me at least a little bit for the time I watched it. I think like it's moderately coherent.
Yeah.
You know, like you can tell someone worked on it at some point.
It was like a project that like they started and then forgot about for a little bit, and then somebody like came across the files and was like, "Oh shit! Hey, we gotta finish this, right?" And so they rushed it.
It doesn't look terrible. Like I think for a movie of this era, like it's fine.
It looks like an 80s.
It's flat. Like there's no like creative like choices made. But will I ever watch it again? No. Nope. Probably not.
Nope.
And I've thought too much about Chuck Norris this week.
I know.
So you know what? 3 out of 10.
There you go. Hell yeah. No, the reason I gave it a 2.9 is because if the first 10 minutes of a movie make me go, is this over yet? It's a bad movie.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair.
And like halfway through, I just got so bored. I was like scrolling on my phone.
Yeah.
I was like kind of half paying attention because like I am not invested in this. There was no point at which it grabbed me.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I was not invested. The action was subpar.
Oh yeah.
The dialogue was ass. Like Chuck Norris is just a weirdo to look at, and I hated seeing his face all the time.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think I said this off the air, but I think the only two actors that I think really carried this film were KO and then the old guy that retired, but also was involved in everything and didn't actually retire.
We didn't talk about his character really.
No.
I didn't hate. I thought he acted well. I hated his character.
Yes,
because I thought he sucked. But
yeah,
he as an actor, I think he did a good job.
Yeah, with what he was given.
Yeah,
and so the reason for a 2.9 is just like it was ass. There were like maybe like 2 moments where I was like, yeah, okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
but other than that, it wasn't that entertaining.
No.
Yeah,
not a fan.
It was rough,
but
so 2.9.
All right, well, that does it for the show then.
Hell yeah.
I promise next time we're gonna have a better experience.
Thank God,
because I believe next week we're gonna talk about Yip Man 4.
Oh
yes.
Oh, I'm ready.
We're building up to John Wick.
Get some Donnie Yen in me.
Ooh. So we're on the up and up from here. And
excellent.
I'm gonna give you a break from shit.
Thank God.
But if you liked this episode, leave us a nice review.
Yeah.
Like we said at the top. How many JJ McQuades out of 5 do you think they should give us?
Well, I mean, I don't want too many JJ McQuades. Because I think 1 is 1 too many.
Okay. What about if we're rating out of stars?
Out of stars?
Uh-huh.
I think I've said this before. But I just want to reiterate. Like, 5 stars is really great.
Okay.
Puts a smile on our face.
So, puts a smile on my face.
And it costs you nothing. It costs $0.
That's true.
Just click 5 stars, right?
That's true.
Everybody wins.
That's
you feel good. We feel good. It's great.
It is great. And if you leave a nice review, like if you do it on Apple or Spotify, you can do it right in the app.
Yep.
And you might get read out on the show.
There you go.
Yeah. So go ahead and do that. If you want to recommend us a film to watch, or if you want to ask us a question or just leave a nice comment, you can email us at vivalaaction@gmail.com. If you would like to find us on social media, we are at Viva La Action on Instagram and Facebook. And on Twitter, we are at Action Viva. Grayson can be found walking around holding a man above his head.
Yep.
And you'll find me in the El Paso desert looking for David Carradine. The dog just smacked his lips, so that means the episode is over. Have a good day. Bye. Ranger.